From out of the pages of DC Comics comes the world's newest and greatest superhero, Plastic Man. He can spring, he can stretch, he can fly, he can bounce, he can change his shape. And he can even dance. Each week, Plastic Man will face the world's greatest collection of villains.
Ladies and gentlemen, screw the formal intro, Mark. I'm trying to get into these lax intros. You know what I'm saying? Like where we kind of just talk into it. So
I will not have you lower the quality of this podcast, sir, by doing who are you, Joe fucking Rogan?
I want the everyman to feel like, hey, I've been part of this conversation this whole time. And they'd be like, "Oh man, I'm welcome into this podcast."
Anything less than a proper introduction, and I won't participate.
All right then.
I'm a diva.
Mark Radulich is back. Goes on a cruise. Comes back with his little princess crown on. He's a diva, apparently. So welcome back, Mark Radulich. You had a good time out on your cruise, you said, right?
Hello, Squire. Yes, I did.
As you can tell, we got bored here and started doing watching movies and doing commentary.
I'll tell you what, man. I was so jealous. Like when I realized what you did, when I got the update, when I saw what you'd done Temple of Doom and Jaws 3, and I'm like, aw,
yeah,
I would have liked to have been part of those. But you know what, Jesse, I gave you carte blanche to do whatever you wanted while I was gone. I gave you the keys to the kingdom, baby doll.
Yeah.
And you did what you felt was right. I was not unhappy to see that you actually did stuff and kept the creative juices flowing. So I will not hold it against you that you left me out of two podcasts I would have liked to have been a part of.
Let me tell you a little something about Jaws 3. I will hold that against Alexis Hana right now.
Let me tell you something. The next time, though, I go away and take off for a week, I'm going to give you a list of things you need to cover because this isn't going to happen again.
Oh, really? That's how it's going to be, huh?
Here's some shit I don't want to talk about. Go nuts.
Go nuts. Fucking go nuts. Well, you're back now. We're going to be talking tonight Plastic Man on the Lam.
This week is nonsense salad.
Yeah, three of these things are not like the other.
Yes, none of these things match. It's peanut butter and ranch dressing and a shoe. That's what we're eating to this week.
Tasty.
Here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. We got Plastic Man on the Rag. We've got Damn You Hollywood Dumbo, brought to you by the wild imagination of the ever so sad Tim Burton. And then Children of Bodom, Hex.
That's right. Yeah, I get to say that I think we're starting our I better turn that down. Our podcast week off on a pretty lighthearted note here with Plastic Man. This is a character from DC that I literally have very, very little that I've read with him in it. So, as a matter of fact, I think in this book they cover an origin that I had no idea even existed. I don't think they retcon this, but go ahead.
I was after I read the first. Now this is, I believe, the 2004 iteration of Plastic Man. This is the first six issues that were compiled together and formed the trade paperback On the Lam, otherwise known as She's on the Rag. No, that's a Steel Panther song.
That's unfortunately been in Mark's head all day, and he's tied it to this here book.
Plastic Man is on the rag. Go figure. Anywho, the Plastic Man on the Lam compiles the first six issues of the 2004 run for Kyle Baker for this iteration of Plastic Man, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I believe the whole thing ran for 20 some odd issues. Is that right? It was exactly 20 issues.
Exactly 20? Okay.
Yep. Yes.
All right.
And the whole thing was headed up by, it was written and illustrated by Kyle Baker. It had a very, very, I don't know if you watched Plastic Man on Saturday morning cartoons. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't even know that existed. I saw somebody mention it, but I never even knew that was a cartoon.
Yeah, I didn't realize Plastic Man was a DC thing. Because what I remember Plastic Man showed up in Scooby-Doo. But yeah, I didn't realize that that Plastic Man was a DC thing, because where I was familiar with him was like he had showed up in some old Batman cartoons, and he showed up I think Plastic Man was like in an episode of Scooby Doo is where I was going with that before. I'll look up the Wikipedia in just a second, but I knew Plastic Man from Saturday morning cartoons. Okay. And I'd never read any of the comic books. And then this is part of the selection of Ronnie Adams suggestions. Okay. Somebody commented. So you have to understand, I'm a very sensitive person. Okay.
I don't let anything go.
I am very sensitive to criticism, and when somebody says you don't do X, I then I
you shall be proven wrong.
I went into the refrigerator today at work, and people have a habit of leaving things in there for like weeks on end. So I've taken to, if like a soda or a water or something is in there and I'm really thirsty and it's been there a while, I'll be like, no one's gonna drink this. I might as well just take it. Okay. And today I took someone's iced tea that they put in there this morning. They were a little miffed at me.
Oh, way to go.
Yeah. But because I'm so sensitive to criticism and hard feelings, I ran right out of the building. There was a mark-sized hole left in the wall. And I ran right to 7-Eleven and I got them not one, but two big-sized versions of the iced tea that I took from them. Such was my guilt that I needed to assuage. So when somebody said, you're not doing enough DC, you guys hardly do any DC on source material, I was like, fuck you! And immediately started to schedule nothing but DC stories for 2019. And in helping me do that, I think I just woke my children up. And in helping me do that was Ronnie Adams, who I said, name me like 10 character-driven stories that we should do. And so we did Emerald Dawn, and we've done a number of other DC-related things, and this is one of them, Plastic Man on the Lam. I'm looking at the Wikipedia for television. Mm-hmm. A Plastic Man pilot was first planned by Hellseeker Productions and then Filmation. Plastic Man made his animated debut in a cameo appearance in the 1973 Super Friends episode, Professor Goodfellow's Geek, voiced by Norman Alden. See, I bet if we had Alexis
on here, she would know.
She'd tell us the whole kit and caboodle. Plastic Man starred in the 1979 to 81 spin-off series, The Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show, voiced by Michael Bell, which I believe is what I was familiar with. He was an operative of a covert agency fighting villains from a jumbo jet headquarters with a bumbling Hawaiian sidekick named Hula Hula, voiced by Joe Baker, and a blonde bombshell girlfriend called Penny, with whom he later married, voiced by Melanie Britt. In Justice League Unlimited, The Greatest Story Never Told, Plastic Man was briefly mentioned as a member of the Justice League by Green Lantern to Elongated Man and Booster Gold.
So I'm looking at your Plastic Man comedy adventure show here from 1979 to 1981.
Yes, sir.
Shown right after Super Friends. The show features many adventures in different segments: Plastic Man, Baby Plastic Family, Mighty Man and Yuck, Yang Face and Fang Face, not Yang Face, Fang Face and Fang Puss, and Rickety Rockets. So, I mean, yeah, it says it was...
Somebody out there was like, did he say Fang Puss? Why is that a good thing?
Fang Puss. So, yeah, I mean, I don't recall watching the cartoon at all. Voices, Joe Baker, just like you'd mentioned Joe Baker before, Michael Bell, Melanie Britt. I don't remember this cartoon. So, okay. So you first run into Plastic Man there. Do you ever remember reading him in any of the comics that you were reading?
No.
Okay. I remember very early on in this show's history, back when I was doing shows by myself, one of those shows was the Justice JLA versus Predator. Okay. And one of the biggest issues I had with that book was Plastic Man. Now, again, I remind you that I do not know much about Plastic Man, but his character and the physics of his power set just made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. This is comic books, folks, and I have a problem with the fact that Plastic Man can somehow turn himself into a jet and combust fuel. All right,
that's your problem, eh?
It's freaking okay. You tell me how that fits into. That's an insane character. The physics of that character are just not correct, even for a comic book. It's like, and I think I remember mentioning this. Okay, first
prove that I'm not Plastic Man's powers don't include internal combustion.
Let's take a look here real quick and just take a look at his power set. Plastic Man. You know what I believed it should have been was much like the T-1000. Okay, the T-1000 was malleable, and he could do this, that, and the other, but he could not turn himself into a bomb and explode.
I want to apologize to anyone who turned into this episode expecting us to talk about the actual book.
Plastic Man could. Somehow Plastic Man can turn himself into like crazy crap like that. So let's just look at his power set here. Abilities: superhuman elasticity, plasticity, malleability, resilience, durability, and agility. Okay, I'm all right with that. Regenerative healing factor. Regenerative healing factor. Shape-shifting, immune to telepathy. Did not know that. Invulnerability. Okay, that goes with the rest of maybe the rest of it. And immortality, sir. All right, now this is from the wiki. This by no means has bearing on the specifics of whatever writer has a hold of the Plastic Man character at the time. But regardless.
May I remind you that there is an iteration of Spider-Man where he is in fact a pig named Peter Porker?
Okay, all right, there's that. However, sir, that takes place in a completely alternate Marvel universe.
Do you remember when Darkseid turned into a little baby?
I do. I do remember that. All right, fine, Mark. I'm not trying to argue with you. What I'm trying to say is that this guy, when I read that book, that was one of my first interactions with actually reading something Plastic Man was in. Let me just say that it did not. The style did not lend itself to Plastic Man. It was so serious. It was really serious, like some of the more serious art style that we usually see. Yeah, I mean, the Predator versus... And here we have Plastic Man turns himself into a jet, all right? Flies in the air like a plane should. I believe there's even a point where he is shooting things. Okay, I'm done talking about this. All right, I'm looking at the comic and I'm getting even more upset. All I could say is that was my first interaction with Plastic Man. There you go.
Hashtag 21st century white people problems.
How long was that rant? Let's see. We're only at half an hour. Okay.
That's great. I hope this entire thing, I hope you're actually going to start the podcast now and that whole thing makes it into the gag reel.
Oh, that goes all into the gag reel? Plastic Man on the Lam. Here we go. Synopsis time. All right. Then we don't have a whole lot to say about this book. I think really what we, I didn't even send Mark like a script or format or whatever, because I think what we'll do, I'll do a synopsis, which legitimately is one sentence long.
Yeah, I feel like we can handle the content of this book.
And then really it's going to be us probably talking about our favorite bits that happen in the book, sure. Maybe a little bit of the story, and that's about it.
I fucking sent you my favorite part of this.
Oh, there's some good stuff. There's a couple good things, and there are some jokes that are kind of adult too, and I'll bring those up here. But anyway, let me get this one sentence out of the way. Plastic Man on the Lam. I just want one sentence, Mark.
Did you see the music I sent you?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
When Plastic Man is accused of a murder,
you ever feel like your life is going nowhere? All right, so I'm done now. I'm done.
You that motherfucker. When Plastic Man is accused of a murder he may have committed as his former villainous alter ego, Eel O'Brien, Chief Banner and new partner, Agent Morgan, determine that Plas is the guilty party. Now, with the help of his buddy Woozy Winks, he must go on the lam from his job at the FBI in order to clear his name. So that is the first 6 issues, is him getting figured as a murderer, and then his boss and his new partner are trying to capture him, subsequently capture him. He escapes, and then he's got to try and clear his name. And we have a big twist at the end. So, I guess I'll open it up to you, Mark. What do you think about this story, first off?
This is a classic fugitive story. He's framed for a murder he didn't commit, and now he's got to clear his own name. Period. It's a structure, and it's a storytelling mechanism. It's Boy Meets Girl. This one, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
And so, what are you gonna do with So this is essentially a fake tree, and then it's the fake tree itself. It's pretty plain, and everyone's got one, and there's nothing to it. It's really what you do with the fake tree. Are you one of these Nazis that have to put all the same ornament on on there, all the same color, like my wife wants to do, have no imagination? Or are you like me, colorful and free and hippie-like, and you want to throw all kinds of ornaments on there and lights and garland and make it garish looking? You know, are you one of these people that has a theme? Everything's got to be Star Wars, like some sort of nut job. You know, so essentially that's what we're talking about here. You know, the Fugitive structure is one that we're all pretty familiar with, I would say, at this point in 2019. You know, if you're one that pays any kind of attention to the finer points of storytelling. What do they do with it? Well, there's a lot of comedy here.
Yes, there is, man. And the art style lends itself to that, too. This is one thing you need to understand is that the comics that we would normally cover, you know, if they're drawn by some of the more serious artists at DC, you know, you're going to have usually a more serious comic on your hands. In this case, this is very much like your Saturday morning cartoon. Didn't you say it like reminded you, I can't remember if you were looking at it with me, and it reminded you of, I know it reminded me of Pink Panther, the cover of the first one, but it's just that style that Kyle Baker has is very animated.
So, I mean, here's the thing. Does it have any pathos? Is there any grist here for the mill, or is it just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner? This leans towards the more one-liner after one-liner, though it has a finish that you probably could have seen coming as far as who done it. You know, who was the real agitator of the story. But the rationale behind why they sought revenge on Plastic Man and set him up, it made sense. I thought it was strong. You know, maybe people smarter than I would have seen that coming as well, but I honestly didn't think about it. I was just involved with the story. For really silly, over-the-top, cartoonish characters, I was into them. I mean, again, it's no Baby Darkseid, but you know, there's not a tremendous amount of depth with it. But I think if you're looking for a lighthearted, funny read with a hero who's their whole gimmick is they're a walking redemption story, I don't think you'd do badly to read Plastic Man on the Lam. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, that was one of the things that we really would like to have from most of our comics that we sit down here and talk about is, did we have a good time reading it? And that's really all this sets out to be. Just like you said, is there a grist for the mill? Is there anything in this book that's going to have implications on the DC universe and Plastic Man at large? No.
The source material podcast really runs the gamut of us looking at issues, many of the day, through the lens of these comic book stories. You know, one of the things I miss about not having Ronnie on here is Ronnie and I, though we're both, you know, we both have right-leaning beliefs, him more so than I, there were other more social things that we tended to disagree on. And so those kinds of things came out in those stories, you know, we would kick them around and debate them. And then there's the other side of the pendulum, where there's just nothing there. And it's just a story, and it was either entertaining or it would be better used as wallpaper. and this swings to the right of that pendulum, where, you know, it's just a story. This is nothing about the nature of man or life. There's nothing going on in this story that's kind of like a Mark. I almost said Ruffalo. Who's the fucking Flintstones guy that Ronnie hates?
Mark Russell.
Mark Russell. See, I was close.
Yeah.
This isn't a Mark Russell. I'm gonna talk about gay marriage behind the guise of polyamory. You know what I mean? You know, I'm going to speak to the issues of gay people by using Snagglepuss as my messenger. There's none of that in this book. If you're just like, I hate politics, fuck you, boy, is this the book for you?
Let me just touch on a few things on my end that I kind of wanted to bring up here about the book, specifically the origin of Plastic Man, which I did not know. I don't know if that's completely canon or if it was just made up for this book, but the 2004 book that we're reading here, Eel O'Brien was Plastic Man's alter ego, I guess, or original. It was his original identity, and he was a kind of like a gangster, I guess you would say. He was involved in crime. And he goes on a job, ends up getting injured, and some like chemicals get into his wound, and he then becomes Plastic Man. Now that sets up a lot in this book, because one of the things that happens before he leaves on his final fateful villainous journey is he has a woman that he has back at home, and he pretty much tells her, hey, look, I'll be back, and when I do this final job, we'll be able to go and be together. Well, all this stuff happens, and he subsequently does not go back to his love. So that ends up becoming a big part here. So now we spoil things on the show, so I'm going to go ahead and spoil it here. What we find out is this paramour that he had from back then ends up being the Agent Morgan that he gets teamed with from the FBI, and she's actually the big bad here. She sets all these things into motion to get Plastic Man to get him framed, pretty much as the killer or the murderer of this unfortunate guy who gets his head bashed in. Supposedly he's going to be the killer, and she sets all these things into motion just because she's upset about the fact that he did not come back to her. Now, we take 6 issues to get there. I mean, the journey was fun. I had a good time reading it, but I didn't know about this, the fact that he had a villainous, that he was a bad guy at the beginning. Mark, is this something that you already knew, or was this new to you?
It was not new to me reading this. I was aware because of something else that I've seen Plastic Man in. Don't ask me what it was. I don't remember.
Okay.
But something else that I'm either watched or read concerning Plastic Man, I knew that it might have been like Justice League Unlimited, now that I think about it. One of the Justice League shows where they talk about how he was a reformed criminal. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, might have actually been Batman Brave and the Bold. Whatever it is that's loosely in my memory regarding Plastic Man, one of the things that comes up about him is that there's people that don't trust him because of his previous criminal background. And then those in his favor, and I want to say it's Batman, who say, hey, this is a guy who was a criminal, but he's turned it around and he's trying to do good, and he deserves the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. So I remembered that. So once I started to read this, and I saw that that they were playing off that part of his origin, I was like, okay, I actually vaguely remember something about that now, and I just kind of went from there.
Okay. So Eel O'Brien, Plastic Man's crook identity at the beginning. So I thought that was neat.
You asked me what I liked. I actually sent you this panel because this, I feel like, sums up the entire book. Okay. I do enjoy a good pun, and I like sort of elevated humor, and maybe someone would read this like elevated humor, like that's not what this is, but to me it was. I thought this was a lot of fun with phrasing and words. Yeah. So there's a character in the book called Red Herring. So and I thought this was fucking brilliant, by the way. So I'm gonna read this.
Okay.
So Red Herring is hiding behind a picture with the eyes cut out, and he's watching Plastic Man and Agent who?
Hotsy-totsy.
Agent Hotsy-totsy.
Yeah.
Agent Tits McGee. It's amazing we have any female listeners. But we love you all. Curse you, vinyl interloper. That really hurt. You guys see me like poked in the eyes. And so Plastic Man says, Egad, it's my arch nemesis, the Red Herring. I haven't seen him since the Cold War. Like, you could just imagine a laugh track.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Okay. And then the Red Herring says, stand back. I have the MacGuffin. This had to have been co-written by somebody from the Marvel Studios, right? He has the MacGuffin.
Oh my god!
That as well said he has the Tesseract.
Now think about that. This is a 2004 book.
Right.
It's interesting that you point that out because I'm going to actually point something out that's kind of prescient as well here later. So go ahead.
So now Plastic Man changes into a fisherman. And and now he's explaining the whole thing with Red Herring. He always gets involved in criminal investigations, which have absolutely nothing to do with him. Get it? Red Herring?
Oh, it's great.
Fool, I am the one that got away. Get it? Oh.
Well, if you ain't got it yet, wait, there's going to be some more explanation.
Yes, in case it wasn't clear, all he does is waste time and distract me from the mission, which is currently to find the murderer and clear my name. I mean O'Brien's. I mean Catch O'Brien. Forget that other stuff. And then he full on changes into what's the Uncle Paul, Vinnie Paul, the fucking fisherman that sells you fish sticks.
Well, he says Mrs. Paul guide me, so that's Mrs. Paul's fish, I believe. Aren't those fish sticks?
I'm thinking of Gordon's fish sticks or something like that. But anyway, he changes into like an iconic fisherman symbol, and he says, "May Mrs. Paul guide me," and he's got the fucking fishing pole out there. You know, Tits is behind it. And she says, "What's wrong with you?" And he looks back and he's like, "Shh, you'll scare him away," because he's trying to catch the red herring with a fishing pole. Get it?
Oh, so good.
Dude, I was in tears fucking reading that.
Now, see, there's some really good, like, I mean, on the nose humor here. That's very, it's very funny. The guy, you know, Kyle Baker, who wrote this, he has a pretty good. He has a pretty good way. And granted, it's not all jokes, but there's plenty of them. That's the thing. You know, Plastic Man is this zany comic book character, and this style fits Plastic Man, in my opinion. Jokey, you know, cartoony, all that stuff. He's a walking Looney Tune. That's pretty much what he is. He's a walking Looney Tune. But anyway, yeah, that bit right there was great. There are a couple times where the art shifts to kind of serious. Like, this guy really does have some. At one point, he draws the Justice League. Now, we were talking about bits that were before their time. Okay, the fucking bit with Batman when he's sitting there and he starts going over his own origin again.
Yeah, when Superman's like elbowing him, he's like, "Still with us, buddy?"
That was funny.
Oh my god, I had a good laugh at that.
Yeah, there is like some hint at adult humor. There's one point where he's walking out. This is right at the beginning of the book. He's walking out of the club, and he's got a girl on each arm, and he hails the taxi with his tongue. So his tongue stretches out and waves at a taxi. And this guy standing behind the line is like, what does that guy have that we don't? And like the bouncer looks over and says, "You don't want to see how he hails the stretch limo." After he meets Agent Morgan, they're walking out of the FBI office, and he turns into a bike, and he says something. He's like, "You want to ride?" And his face is the seat.
Right.
I mean, she's obviously sit right there, right on his face.
You were really expecting him to be like, I'm Richard Nixon up in that ass. I'm not a crocodile.
Oh man, there's a whole gag that I liked. I wrote down here about, you know, they seal him up after, you know, trying to stop him from escaping, stop Plastic Man from escaping. They use some like acetone, and they're able to freeze him like by turning down the temperature in the office that they're at. So he becomes this like block of ice. So they seal him up in a body bag twice. And then they decide to have like, I don't know, 2 or 3 pages of dialogue about if he can fucking breathe. Like he's just sealed up in this bag. And they're like, well, I don't know if he can breathe. So they
kind of like what we were doing earlier. Kind of like what we were doing earlier.
Yes. Yes, sir. Exactly. So they have to call the JLA to find out if he can actually breathe or if he'll be fine. And they go through all sorts of scenarios that maybe he can and maybe he can't. But yeah, then he escapes. We have the raid on the monastery headed by Agent Morgan. Okay. All right. Now get this joke. Last joke. So as Agent Morgan has brought the FBI and tanks to the monastery, one of the subordinates speaks up and says, "Agent Morgan, sir, do you really think we should do this? I mean, we're the FBI. We can't just massacre civilians in a house of worship." And she says, "You must be the new guy." All right. So anyway, there's some good jokes in this. And I think if you guys have a chance, check out Plastic Man. I mean, I don't really have much else other than that to say.
Let me end the discussion by saying this. We often give DC a lot of crap for going overly super serial. You know, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
You know, we've talked about like the Baby Darkseid thing, and you know, syphilis is coming, and this whole thing came out of the fact that we would read this stuff, and it was just we just felt like as a company it was taking itself way too seriously for funny books. You know, I think you can speak to the nature of man without writing such depressing tales. Plastic Man really goes back to the heart of exactly what I called them, funny books.
Yeah.
These are lighthearted, fun. I mean, there was just enough pathos there to get a reaction. You know, when you realize that this has all been a plan because she's a spurned lover and she was forgotten about and everything, you're like, oh, I get it. Like, you know, and look, you don't have to, burst into tears or anything. everything. But like, you get where she's coming from. You know, and his anxiety, and trying to think I was this bad person, and I've been given a second chance, and and I'm right back where I started because somebody framed me and all of that. There's enough there to kind of play around with without it going so over the top serious. It becomes it becomes a self parody.
Yeah.
This is weirdly like less self parody than like the Zack Snyderverse DC movies, which are over the, which are so grimdark. And granted, I'm comparing movies to comic books, but even in the comic books, I mean, I think you were talking about this during your Fatal Attractions. Like I saw the artwork for Dark Knight Metal, and I've heard the comments about it, like no one understood the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Frank.
The art kicked ass.
I've heard like Frank Miller's third Dark Knight trilogy or Dark Knight series is like about Nazis or something like that.
It's called The Master Race. So
yeah, boy. Yeah, but do you see what I'm saying? Like not everything has to go to the worst fucking negative place possible. Like you can just have like a fun story that talks about some pretty accessible things that people can get behind and go, okay, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I was just looking at Kyle Baker's Wikipedia page. He actually won an Eisner Award for Best New Series for this book, 2004 Plastic Man. So that kind of supports what you're saying.
And nobody got their adamantium ripped out of them.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be that big of a book. People can enjoy it, and when that happens, lo and behold, you get recognized for it.
Yeah.
Nobody
was beaten to death by an intergalactic monster.
That's right.
Nobody had their back broken in the middle of the street after fighting through their entire rogues gallery. Nobody was shot by their rogues gallery.
Yeah. It's fun stuff. And I had a good time. Reading it. I mean, it's got humor in there for adults, humor for kids. I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. So, all right, Mark, that's Plastic Man on the Lam. We did it, buddy.
He's on the ride.
Why don't you go ahead and plug some stuff here?
All right, April 8th next week. If you're listening to this on April 1st, is Shazam: The Monster Society. The Monster Society of Evil. I take that back. Do we have a guest for that one?
Yeah, I believe Chris will join us for that. He's going to try to anyway. I'll tell you, that book, it's going to be a nice, easy, breezy read. If the first issue, actually, if the first 40 pages are anything like what I read for the rest of the series, it will go by quick, and it's pretty good.
Tell you else something about that book.
Tell me.
I got it from Ollie's.
Baby.
April 15th is Batman Hellboy Starman.
We tying that in with Hellboy or something?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The following week, apropos of nothing, this is yet another Rattledge and Broadcasting toss salad week.
Butt-legging week.
It's butt-legging week here on the Rattledge Broadcasting Network.
You get your butt legged and your salad tossed.
Oh, for half price. We throw it in there.
2 for 1 special.
Well, welcome to the Rattledge and Broadcasting fast food restaurant where you can get a butt legging with a side of tossed salad.
Oh, yummy.
Gay. Green Lantern, Planet of the Apes, on April 22nd.
Gavin should be joining us for that one.
And then finally, as we gear up for Avengers Endgame, actually shortly after that comes out, it comes out on April 26th, unless you're seeing it early, which is April 25th. We will be doing Avengers Forever!
Al Sedano will be joining us on that. He will be our guide.
And Avengers Forever, April 29th. Let's talk about May, shall we?
Let's talk about May, shall we?
And let's talk about you and me. It's all about Marvel. Yes, we decided that May, since it kicks off the summer blockbuster season, we were going to dedicate May, also because of the Avengers Endgame, the cumulative chapter, the zenith of the first 3 phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the end of the story, as it were. That we would dedicate all of May to Marvel events. So it kicks off with May 6th, Secret Invasion. More Skrulls for yes.
Oh, yeah.
And did you like Civil War? Well, did you like Captain Marvel? Well, here's Civil War 2.
That's right.
April 13th. I'm sorry, May 13th. May 13th. May 20th is Fear Itself. And then we we finally end this series of Marvel events with one of my personal favorites, World War Hulk.
Oh yeah.
But just closing out the month of June, we've got Godzilla: Kingdom of Monsters on the Source Material podcast. That's June 3rd, the day after my birthday. I will be 43 years young, Jesse Starcher. You know what also is June 3rd? The day after I go see Ozzy and Megadeth.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be a hell of a fucking show, right?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, well, let me tell you about something else. X-Men, Dark Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix Saga on June 10th, which is the day after I go see another fucking amazing show. Are you ready? You want to know what I'm going to see? Be jealous, Jesse Starcher.
Let me hear it.
Be fucking jealous.
I am.
Hootie and the motherfucking Blowfish.
Oh, my goodness.
Ah, shit, white people, throw your khakis in the air.
Oh,
and wave like just don't care. With your ascots and plaid shorts. I don't know who's wearing an ascot, but anyway.
There'll be a there. That'll be weird.
Yeah, my wife is dragging me to Hootie and the Blowfish.
That's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a couple songs you'll recognize, I'm sure.
Oh, sure. Let her cry. Let her cry. Because she's white. Let her cry. Sorry. He can't possibly be racist. He makes fun of everyone. We're gonna have a new guest, Jesse Starcher. I have to be good. You have to be good. We have to behave ourselves. We can't be doing like tits and race jokes.
When?
June 17th. We got to clean up our act because Andrew Graham from our Canadian office will be down to discuss Gotham Central.
Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. I'm glad we haven't had him on Source Material since, I think, Superman Year 1. So, and that's been a while, dude. It's been a long time.
Yes, it has. Yep. I said, hey, I need something to go with Men in Black International. He was like, Gotham Central. And I was like, sure, that makes sense.
I'll ask him about it on the podcast.
And finally, now, I don't know if we'll have all the people involved here because, shit happens, but we got DC Hanna-Barbera 3, June 24th. And that's as far as we're going to go right now. I'll be discussing Huckleberry Hound, Green Lantern. Alexis Hana will be on to discuss Deathstroke, Yogi Bear. Hey, boo-boo.
Hey,
maybe Ronnie Adams will have been resurrected, and he will discuss Nightwing, McGilla Gorilla, or we'll have to find a substitute. And you, sir, Superman, Top Cat.
Oh, all right. Very nice.
Maybe we'll have my dad on. Maybe we'll have Josh Calandros. Maybe we'll have somebody new. Maybe we'll have somebody blue. Maybe we'll have somebody bar.
Somebody blue. putting a call out there. Anybody blue that would like to guest on the podcast?
If you're a Kree or a Smurf or a half Frost Giant, please contact us.
Please let us know
at markradledge.com. You fucking asshole. All right. Closing out the plugs here. Here's what's going on in April. Like I said, it's Toss Salad Week here on the Rattledge Broadcasting Network. We got Plastic Man on the rag. We got Dumbo. We got Children of Bodom, Hex. Next week, we got, of course, as I said before, Shazam, the Monster Society of Evil. Damn you, Hollywood. Shazam. Got one word for you, Captain Marvel. Shazam.
Shazam.
And then we're going to split that week. It's a split 7-inch, right? We got half of it Shazam. The other half is na 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 wrestling music on the Metal Hammer of Doom. You gotta know how to phony like
Phony Maroney.
You gotta know how to tango.
I'm gonna crush you with my avalanche.
Like you King Kong Bundy. Wrestling music. We have to figure out what that show's actually going to be.
Yes.
But we're gonna do some wrestling music on the Metal Hammer of Doom. We'll figure that out. I will that day be going to the Moffitt Cancer Center to get my CAT scan and doctor review. So either it's gonna be a great show because I still don't have cancer, or I've got a reoccurrence and it's gonna be a depressing show. I'm either gonna be sober or drunk. You never know.
Huh.
And then finally, because I'll have just gotten back from WrestleMania weekend. Oh, Jesse, this is like a bachelor party without anyone getting married. I got wrestling from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. It's all wrestling all weekend long, and we're going to talk about it on April 11th, all my shenanigans. WrestleMania 35, NXT New York, Ring of Honor, the Hall of Fame, your mom's ass, everything.
Damn. That's going to be on the pre-show. WWE presents Your Mom's Ass.
Yes, Your Mom's Ass. Brought to you by Buttlegging.
And the network is still only $9.99. Thank goodness. WrestleMania week has gone insane.
That Friday, actually, April 12th, will be the first of 3 shows, Countdown to Endgame, a review of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, hosted by Robert Winfrey, myself, and Alexis Hano will be on. We're not going to review the movies as such. We're going to talk about sort of the arcs, the overall storytelling, whatever else Robert has in mind. We're gonna go back through the Marvel Cinematic Universe leading up to Endgame, and we're gonna do that in 3 parts. So phase 1 is April 12th. Following week is Hellboy week, all week long. We got Batman, Hellboy, Starman, Damn You Hollywood, the new Hellboy remake, Overkill, Welcome to New Jersey.
Oh boy.
That's actually called The Wings of War, but
it should have been called
Welcome to New Jersey. Welcome to New Jersey, you fuck. And then Long Road to Ruin, the Hellboy 04 and 08 movies. As I said before, we have another tossed salad week, Easter week, as a matter of fact, Green Lantern, Planet of the Apes. While I'm at Whitesnake, the children will take over, the children of the corn, that is. Robert Winfrey, Alexis Hana, and motherfucking Jason Teasley. Pet Cemetery on Damn You Hollywood. I won't be there. I'll be at Whitesnake. And finally, have you been watching The Orville, Jesse Starcher?
Oh boy, I am 1 behind. I think the last episode I watched was Blood of Patriots, so I have not watched anything after that. I think I'm only 1 episode behind now.
Yeah, you're only 1 episode behind. Wait till you see the new episode.
Oh no!
I have dubbed Orville the Black Mirror, the less creepy Black Mirror. It's so good.
Lasting Impressions is what it's called, apparently.
Yes, and Oh my god, this was one of those where I watched it and I literally ran out of the room and blurted what the episode was about to my wife because I was so excited. It's so good. By April 24th, the 2nd season will have wrapped. This excellent, fucking phenomenal 2nd season will have wrapped. And we're going to talk about it, Jesse Starcher and I. We're going to no pants on, hand on cock. That's how that show's going to go.
Wife beater on.
Wife beater on. That's how we're going to review that show. That's how good it is.
So.
And then finally, we got Avengers Forever, Avengers Endgame, Twar, Hell on the Metal Hammer of Doom, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 2 on TV Party tonight. That's it. We do have some
Twar. No hammers were hurt in the making of this video. No hammers, ne'er a hammer to be found, as a matter of fact.
So real quick, Saturday, March 30th, Pat and I got some boxing commentary. It's Alexander Grovdik versus Juju Umbo.
Now, wait a second.
So we're going to do some commentary Saturday night, March 30th. For that, that's on ESPN. And then we got nothing. We're back on commentary. Saul Alvarez, Canelo versus Daniel Jacobs on DAZN on May 4th. DAZN, Jesse Starcher. You know what DAZN is?
Is that like a calzone?
Yeah, sure.
Makes me hungry just thinking about it. Well,
that's all right. That's all I got for your ass.
That's all the news fit to print. Okay, well then, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure to give that Radulich in Broadcasting Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. We are at home on Spreaker, but you can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and recently we have hit the air on Spotify. Find your favorite podcast platform and type in RADULICH to subscribe for some great content. If you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word. And as always, we appreciate any feedback and look forward to entertaining you again soon.
the onslaught thing, however.
Oh, yes, you son of a bitch. I take umbrage, sir.
Next time you ask me to dedicate a month, I'm going to tell you to dedicate your mother. Shout out to your show with the propaganda from last week.
Mark's a little upset.
I don't let anything go. Mountains out of molehills. Rattledge Broadcasting.
Don't want to run into one of those in a dark, scary night.
I once dated a girl with a fang puss.
Yeah, bad case of the old fang puss. Hamina. Let me
clear my throat, man. I'm no average, ordinary, everyday dude.
But it seemed like he was very knowledgeable of what butt legging was. Which I had no idea what butt legging was. Have you ever heard of the term butt legging?
I believe it's this type of pornography.
Shove the whole leg right up the ass. Oh, well, I gotta, no, now, come on, Dad.
Oh, butt legging. I'm going to do that to my wife later on. Leg right in the butt. She's gonna be sorry.
Little butt legging tonight.
What's a little butt legging between a married couple? Honestly, you got to keep the marriage.
You're fresh.
Fresh,
you ever
exactly.
try a little butt legging every once in a while. I mean, my wife has doubled up, and like I felt her knees in my back, so there could have been potentially before I woke up some butt legging going on, and I just kind of like
you've been forcibly butt legged, have you?
I feel violated. So, I mean, yeah.
Dick jokes. Hey, Melissa, come here for a second. First of all, would you like me to butt leg you? Would you like me to butt leg you? You were saying that we need to be closer. I'm offering to butt leg you. I was really giving this an honest try.
Ladies and gentlemen, go give the Rattledge in Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great moments. Great podcast. Sorry, I'm in the middle of texting.
Butt legging.
Great. Stay on top of all that great butt legging that goes on.
Did you ever see Kermit the Frog and Fozzie in the great butt legging caper? Moving right along.
Muppets take your ass.
Moving right along. Put this in and see free. Hey, where's that foot going?
Platform should be able to find and subscribe and do all that great stuff. For Mark Rattledge, I'm Jesse Starcher. What do you got to say, Mark?
It'll go directly in your butt.
Right there. Plug it right in.
Good luck editing this piece of shit.